When you think of basketball, sneaker culture, or even global streetwear, one name inevitably comes to mind: Air Jordan. This iconic brand, born from the collaboration between basketball legend Michael Jordan and Nike, has transcended sports to become a symbol of style, status, and cultural identity. But how did Air Jordan come to dominate not just basketball courts, but also fashion runways and urban streets worldwide? The story of sneaker culture begins not in a high-end boutique or on a basketball court, but in factories producing simple rubber-soled shoes in the late 19th century. In the late 1800s, companies like the U.S. Rubber Company and Goodyear began experimenting with vulcanized rubber to create shoes that were flexible and durable. By the early 20th century, the first modern sneakers, canvas-topped, rubber-soled shoes, hit the market. Keds, introduced in 1916, became one of the earliest mass-produced sneakers, and soon after, Converse released the iconic Chuck Taylor All-Star in 1921, revolutionizing basketball footwear. What made sneakers different from traditional leather dress shoes was their comfort and their ability to grip the ground without making noise, earning them the nickname sneakers. At first, they were worn primarily for sports and physical activity, but that would soon change. The post-war years saw the rise of basketball as a major sport in the US, and with it, the need for specialized footwear. Adidas made history in the 1950s by releasing the first leather basketball shoe, and by the 70s, brands like Puma and Nike entered the scene. Nike, founded in 1964 as Blue Ribbon Sports, rebranded in 1971 and introduced the world to the swoosh, a logo that would soon become one of the most recognizable symbols in sneaker history. As basketball became bigger, so did its stars, and the sneaker industry capitalized on this. But it was Michael Jordan's arrival in 1984 that changed everything. The story of Air Jordan begins with the rise of Michael Jordan, a young basketball player who would go on to become one of the greatest athletes of all time. Born in 1963 in Wilmington, North Carolina, Jordan's talent for basketball became apparent during his high school years. After a stellar college career at the University of North Carolina, Jordan was drafted by the Chicago Bulls in 1984. By the time he entered the NBA, Jordan's combination of skill, charisma, and competitive spirit had already made him a star in the making. Nike, a relatively young company at the time, saw an opportunity to capitalize on Jordan's potential. But MJ's legendary partnership with Nike almost never happened. In 1984, when Jordan was entering the NBA, he had no interest in signing with the then-struggling sneaker company. Instead, his heart was set on Adidas, a brand he had admired since college. At the time, Adidas was more popular among basketball players, and Jordan felt their shoes suited his style better. Converse, another major brand, was also in the mix, but they already had big names like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and weren't willing to make Jordan their top star. Nike, on the other hand, saw Jordan as the future. They were eager to sign him and were prepared to offer him his own signature shoe line, something almost unheard of at the time. But Jordan wasn't convinced. He didn't even want to take a meeting with Nike, believing their shoes were more suited for track athletes than basketball players.
You know what? The thing is, I never wore Nike shoes until I signed a Nike contract. All through college, we wore Converse. And up to that point, my favorite shoe was an Adidas shoe, you know. And at the time that everybody was starting recruiting me about what shoes to wear, I was pro Adidas, you know, the whole time.
It was his mother, Dolores Jordan, who changed everything. She insisted he at least listen to what Nike had to say. "You're going to go listen," she told him. "You may not like it, but you're going to go listen." Reluctantly, Jordan flew to Nike's headquarters in Oregon. Nike made their pitch, offering Jordan an unprecedented deal that included his own signature shoe, the Air Jordan. They also promised a marketing campaign centered entirely around him, something no other company was willing to do. Jordan was impressed, and with his parents' encouragement, he ultimately agreed. In 1984, Nike signed MJ to an unprecedented endorsement deal worth $2.5 million over 5 years, a huge sum for an athlete at the time. The first Air Jordan sneaker, the Air Jordan 1, debuted in 1985. Designed by Peter Moore, The shoe broke the mold of traditional basketball footwear with its bold red, black, and white colorway, a nod to the Chicago Bulls. This design immediately set it apart from the predominantly white sneakers that dominated the court. The Air Jordan 1 also became infamous for its role in breaking NBA uniform rules. The league banned the sneaker for not meeting the requirement of having predominantly white shoes, but Nike and Jordan turned this into a marketing goldmine. They embraced the banned label, releasing ads that declared, "The NBA can't stop you from wearing them." The rebellious image struck a chord with young fans, making the Air Jordan 1 a must-have item. Nike's partnership with Michael Jordan revolutionized the way athletes and brands collaborated. Before Air Jordan, athlete endorsements were relatively straightforward, often involving a few commercials and magazine ads. With Jordan, Nike built an entire brand identity. The Jumpman logo, introduced in 1988 with the release of the Air Jordan 3, became one of the most recognizable symbols in sports. Designed by Tinker Hatfield, the Air Jordan 3 also introduced innovative features like visible air cushioning and premium materials, elevating it beyond a functional basketball shoe to a luxury product. Nike's marketing campaigns further amplified the brand's appeal. Ads featuring Spike Lee as Mars Blackman, Jordan's fictional superfan, added humor and personality, while emphasizing the message that it's gotta be the shoes. These campaigns positioned Air Jordan as more than a sneaker. It was a cultural statement. Meanwhile, in New York City, hip-hop was making its own mark. Rap groups like Run DMC embraced sneakers as part of their everyday uniform, wearing Adidas Superstars with no laces and turning street style into a statement. When the group released the song My Adidas in 1986, they secured a landmark endorsement deal with Adidas, marking the first time a major sneaker company officially aligned itself with hip-hop culture. By the 90s and early 2000s, sneakers weren't just for athletes and hip-hop artists anymore. They were for everyone. Limited edition releases and collaborations with celebrities made certain sneakers highly sought after. Nike's Air Jordans, Reebok's collaborations with Allen Iverson, and the rise of skate-inspired brands like Vans and DC Shoes helped shape the diverse sneaker culture we know today. The 2010s saw an explosion in sneaker reselling, with platforms like StockX and GOAT turning the secondary sneaker market into a billion-dollar industry. What started as a niche hobby, collecting rare and exclusive kicks, became a global phenomenon, with some sneakers selling for thousands of dollars. Today, sneakers are more than just footwear. They are statements of personality, status, and affiliation. Collaborations between brands and artists, from Kanye West's Yeezys to Travis Scott's Cactus Jack Jordans, have taken sneaker hype to new levels. Over the years, the Air Jordan line has continued to innovate and evolve. Each new release features cutting-edge technology and design, while retro editions of classic models keep the brand's history alive. The limited availability of certain releases has also created a thriving resale market where rare pairs can sell for thousands of dollars.
You will not believe all the reports of violence that broke out when people rushed to get the newest pair of Air Jordans. A crowd busted through this door in Indiana, and remember, as you're watching these pictures, this is all over shoes.
Despite its success, Air Jordan has faced criticism over the years. The high price of the sneakers has made them inaccessible to some fans, while the brand's association with status has occasionally led to incidents of violence over coveted releases. What started as a simple rubber-soled invention has transformed into an industry that blends sports, music, fashion, and technology. Sneaker culture is no longer just about what you wear on your feet. It's about the stories, the history, and the movement behind each pair.